And joining me now is NewsNation political contributor Denise Gitsham. Denise, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As Trump heads to Malaysia today, Senate minority leaders clapping back, posting, quote, "America is shut down. The president is skipping town." What message does this Asia summit send amid this ongoing government shutdown, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky political situation for the president because while gas prices have hit four-year lows this week and inflation came in under market expectations yesterday, prompting the highest stock market records in a long time, Main Street is still experiencing high grocery bills and cost of living is still really high. And President Trump said that that was his goal when he came into office. So it's hard for people to understand why the president is abroad. I mean, you've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene and a bunch of other prominent Republicans, especially that super MAGA base, Steve Bannon, people who are very much America First people who are saying, why are you abroad when you should be focusing on things at home? So I understand that inclination. Facts don't matter. What matters is how people feel. And I think President Trump would do well by coming home and making sure that he's at the forefront of these issues, talking about these issues all the time, so that he actually can buy himself a little bit of political leeway to do the things he has to do abroad.
Right. We are talking 25 days now. The Pentagon accepting $130 million from an anonymous donor to keep paying the military during this shutdown. Does this raise any concerns of our troops being bought by Trump's friends?
Yeah, it's funny. I have been in and out of Washington for 25 years and was once a lobbyist myself. So I understand the influence of money on American politics. You know, I don't really know what other position we could take, because Democrats chose to vote against funding the troops, and we can't have our troops unfunded. I mean, a lot of enlisted troops, people don't realize, are actually on food stamps. I mean, they can't make ends meet, which is a travesty in and of itself. But I don't really know what other options we've been left when Democrats refuse to vote even for military pay. So if we don't take these funds and there's no other ways for us to shift money around or use tariff money, then I think we're in a situation where we have no choice. The president has no choice but to accept private donations. And, hopefully that isn't something that a private company can then leverage later on. But we know how Washington works, so it probably is.
Right. Thank you. When in doubt, consider the financials, right?
Follow the money in Washington.
Exactly. The Trump administration is sanctioning Colombia's president and his family members, accusing them of being involved in the drug trade. So this comes amid that escalation of U.S. deadly strikes in the Caribbean Sea, which have killed at least 43 people total. The Pentagon now also deploying an aircraft carrier to be sent to the Caribbean. Venezuela's President Maduro is accusing America of fabricating a war in Latin America. So what do you think this message is sending, or what kind of message is this sending to the people?
Particularly the sanctioning of Petro, which, by the way, is fully legitimate because his own son actually admitted in 2023 to receiving funds from drug traffickers to support his father's campaign. So it's not like this came out of nowhere and this guy was completely innocent. Far from it. And so sanctioning Petro and all the actions he's taken against Venezuelan traffickers, these are forceful warnings to narco dictators and regimes worldwide. We, as the U.S., are not willing to take a step back. We are willing to take unprecedented action, even targeting heads of state. These people who have, sat above and said, we have nothing to do with it. These are all criminals. No more. We're going in and we're checking to make sure that when we do strike, it's decisive and it actually takes out people who are guilty. But we're not willing to look past any head of state, even with countries that we've considered allies traditionally. So everyone is fair game in our effort to tamp down on the drug trade, and we're not going to look over anyone, no matter how friendly they've been to the United States in the past.
All right, so let's go north now to Canada. Ontario Premier Doug Ford pulling the anti-tariff advertisement that made Trump terminate trade wars with Canada, posting in part, quote, "In speaking with Prime Minister Carney, Ontario will pause its U.S. advertising campaign effective Monday so that trade talks can resume." Take a listen to Canada's Prime Minister talking about the American trade policies.
We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed. We stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to.
So what does this say about our current relationships with our foreign allies?
Well, I think it was really foolish of Canada to put out this ad. Also, incredibly dishonest. You know, I always think of Canadians as the nicest people in the world. My family is actually from Hamilton, Ontario. And so it's really dismaying for me to see that they would excerpt, you know, these sort of taken out of context language from Reagan to make a case against the president, when in fact, the whole reason Reagan said the words that he did in those ads was because he was talking about fair trade, not just free trade, and he was imposing tariffs on Japan. And so it was just such a slap in the face. And really, what can Canada do about this? 75% of their exports come to America. I mean, how stupid can you be to go and slap the president in the face? Not only that, but dishonestly, and then come and say, we really want to resume trade talks. You know what? You're going to have to suffer for a while, because you have to suffer the consequences of your actions. And I think of all the things that I've seen, this seems like the most misjudged, misguided sort of decision to go after on the PR front and trying to bring this trade war to an end. They just effectively ramped it up so far that they'll be fortunate if there are any trade talks anytime soon resumed.
Wow. All right, Denise Gitsham, thank you so much for joining us this morning.